Hello and welcome back. Before I begin, I'd like to give a big thank you to Plankton736 for becoming my latest subscriber. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your taking the time to subscribe. And now, on with the haul. First up is my assortment of videos from the Johns Hopkins University Library. And this time I managed to luck out and get a film from the McNaughton Popular Viewing Collection, which, as I've mentioned in previous videos, is sometimes hard to do because it's right out there in front, and you know, it's sort of like a revolving door. They come in, they come out. It's hard to snag some, but I got one today. This is The Tree, starring Charlotte Gainsbourg. I'm not a huge Charlotte Gainsbourg fan. I know she has her major devotees, but I like her well enough, and this story sounded interesting. I haven't gotten a chance to see it yet, but it's about a family, and the husband and father dies, and they become convinced that his spirit is living in a tree. And it's based on a story called Our Father Who Art in a Tree, which I don't remember the name of the author, and I haven't read the story, but I remember hearing about the story, thinking it sounded interesting. And on the back of this, it's being compared to Picnic at Hanging Rock, which is one of my favorite films, a great film by Peter Weir. So, looking forward to checking this one out. And then I got The Stranger, directed by the great Satyajit Ray. It seems like every time I do one of these video hauls, I have a Satyajit Ray film, and I really do watch films that are not by Satyajit Ray once in a while, but I really like him, and I'm trying to see all his films at some point. And once again, he did not disappoint. This was a really good film. I think one of his lesser known works, and was actually his last completed film, completed in 1992, or released in 1992. And this is a time-honored story of a man who comes into a town, claims to be somebody, and the question is he that person or is he not? In this case, it's a man claiming to be a woman's long-lost uncle, and she immediately welcomes him into the home, into the family. Her husband is a little bit more skeptical. And so this is in the tradition of Return of Martin Guerre, Somersby, Olivier. And this is just a great film, really well done. If you like Satyajit Ray, you'll definitely like this. Just because he's done a few really superlative films, I wouldn't necessarily put this right up there with, say, The Music Room or Charulata, but really good, highly recommended. And then my heart sank when I got this one, because they don't have what are called open stacks at Hopkins. You have to give them a piece of paper with the names of the films you want, and they come back and give them to you. And this one film I wanted to get was The Day of the Beast, which is a Spanish film directed by Alex de la Iglesia. And when I got this back, I was not optimistic because it's been transferred from PAL VHS format. And sometimes the foreign ones that have been transferred don't have any subtitles, which is a bummer because I don't speak Spanish. But fortunately, this one did have subtitles, and I highly recommend this one as well. It's a great little dark horror comedy about a priest who becomes convinced that he knows the date the Antichrist is going to be born, and decides he needs to summon the devil for help in finding the Antichrist and defeating him. And as you might imagine, all kinds of chaos ensues. Yeah, definitely a really dark little film, but really entertaining and highly recommended. And I decided my moral for this video haul, or my motto for this particular haul, was going to be you win some and you lose some. And in this case, I lost some. I got this film, Leningrad Cowboys Go America, which I really thought was a no-brainer, that I was really going to like, because A, it's in the Criterion Eclipse series, and although Criterion Collection itself, the main collection, I think tends to be pretty hit or miss. I mean, I've seen a lot of great films from them, but there are some that I'm just, you know, I'm like, what? Why is this in Criterion? But the Eclipse series tends to be pretty consistently good. And also it was directed by Aki Kaurismäki, who directed actually another Eclipse series they put out, which was called the Proletarian Trilogy, which included Shadows in Paradise, Ariel, and The Match Factory Girl. And Shadows in Paradise I absolutely loved. The Match Factory Girl I thought was really good, and Ariel I thought was pretty good. So I'm like, you know, directed by this guy, put out by Eclipse, can't go wrong. And I just thought this was stupid. I didn't even finish it. I mean, it was only 79 minutes long, but I'm like, that's 79 minutes of my life. So I watched about half an hour. It's a mockumentary about a Finnish rock band with really bizarre hairdos who decide to come to America and try to make it big because they're too bad to make it in Finland. And I mean, I was thinking if this were an American film, I would have turned it off after like 5 minutes. It just wasn't my kind of humor. So, gave up on it. And I've not seen the rest of these from Hopkins yet. But I got this Fishing with John, which is another Criterion. I feel like I've been a little slipshod watching my Criterion films. And I've been keeping up with it on this site called Lists of Bests, which is a place where you can, you sign up and they have lists of all these different things like Modern Library, 100 Best Novels of the 20th Century, and Criterion Collection, and you can check off the ones you've seen. It tells you what percentage you've seen. And I think I'm in the low 70s. I've seen, I think, like 73, 74% of the Criterion Collection. I'm trying to get that up there. So I checked out this Fishing with John, which is apparently, it was a TV series where he goes fishing with various film personalities. I'm not even sure, it's John Lurie. I'm not even sure who that is. I wonder if he's related to Rod Lurie, who is one of my favorite directors. And it's probably on IMDb or someplace if I weren't too lazy to look it up. And some of the personalities he goes with are pretty interesting. There's Jim Jarmusch, Willem Dafoe, Matt Dillon, Dennis Hopper. And although the one thing I realized was I'm a vegetarian and fishing doesn't really appeal to me. So I'm kind of hoping they throw them all back or something, because I don't really want to see them, you know, killing a shark or a squid or whatever. But I guess I'll find out. And then I got The Broadway Melody of 1940. I can't believe I haven't seen this yet. I've seen all the other Broadway Melody films, and I have this feeling that I've seen this, but I have absolutely no documentary evidence to back that up. So I figure if I haven't seen it, it's about time. And honestly, these musicals, a lot of the stories and whatnot are pretty forgettable, so even if I have seen it, I may not realize it. But this one stars Fred Astaire and Eleanor Powell, and you know, filling in a gap in my movie musical education. And last from Hopkins, I got this film Hard Times, starring Charles Bronson, and directed by Walter Hill. This is actually the directorial debut of Walter Hill, who has had a really pretty long career. He's directed really great little 70s action films like The Warriors and The Long Riders, and then all the way up through the acclaimed miniseries Broken Trail. And he also did Undisputed, which is about boxing in prison. I mean, he's done just really good quality action films. He also did 48 Hours, which shame on me, have not seen. And he directed Last Man Standing, which I think is one of the really underrated Bruce Willis films. It was a Western based on Kurosawa's Yojimbo. That was one of my favorite films when I was in my, Last Man Standing was one of my favorite films when I was in my early teens. Although Yojimbo was good too, not bad-mouthing that. And this stars Charles Bronson as a prize fighter in the Great Depression. And next, from University of Baltimore's library, I got The Future. This is written, directed by, and starring Miranda July, who seems to be rather a polarizing love it or hate it, or love her or hate her figure. I think of her as kind of a mopey hipster Streisand. I mean, because she directs her things, she writes her things, she stars in her things, and I love Barbra Streisand. I think she's really talented, and I can't say I'm quite in the love it camp for Miranda July, but I definitely like her. Although I can see why people would hate her. I've seen her previous film, Me and You and Everyone We Know, and I like that. And this one I'm about halfway through right now, and it's about a woman and her boyfriend in their 30s. They're living together, and they decide to adopt a cat. And they decide that this is going to completely change their lives. And they have 1 month before the cat is ready to be adopted, and so they decide to go out, find themselves, do all kinds of crazy things. And you also see some scenes from the cat's point of view, and I believe the voice of the cat is done by Miranda July, just talking in a really squeaky voice. And it's a little bit precious, but what can I say? I just like it. And then from Stevenson University, I got this anthology, The Astonishing Work of Tezuka Osamu, which is a collection of animation. And he supposedly is like the godfather of manga and anime. I'm not really into manga and anime, and so this was kind of an experiment on my part, and I have to say I found it not so astonishing. Sorry. And last, from the Sights and Sounds collection of the Enoch Pratt Free Library, I got Man of Iron, directed by Andre Vajda, and this is a sequel of sorts to his film Man of Marble. And this film, Man of Iron, is set during the Solidarity strikes in Poland in 1980. And it's about a journalist who is assigned to smear this leader in the Solidarity movement. And it's sort of about his personal, the transformation he goes through as he's trying to carry out this assignment. And I didn't like this quite as much as Man of Marble, which I just absolutely loved, but I really, really liked this, would highly recommend it. And there's the main character in Man of Marble, or arguably the main character, the documentarian who is tracking down this figure in Man of Marble, appears in this one as well as the same character. So that was cool to see as well. Highly recommend both films. And then this is another miss, unfortunately. I checked out Just the Ticket, starring Andy Garcia and Andie MacDowell, both of whom I love, and I thought this would be, this is one of those films that I think it came out in 98. And it's one of those films that's been kind of in my consciousness for a while, and I'm like, I should see this, I should see this, I should see this, and never have, and apparently there's a reason for that. I mean, I love the cast, but just the story never really took off for me. I found myself really bored and gave up halfway through. And last but not least, I checked out the Wolfman The Legacy Collection. Universal Studios did a bunch of classic horror films in the 30s and 40s, as you probably know, and they've put together these legacy collections. They did one for Frankenstein, Dracula, The Invisible Man, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and The Wolfman. And this one includes the original film The Wolfman, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, Werewolf of London, and She-Wolf of London. And I just really get a kick out of these. I'll admit they're not really great cinema, but they're good fun and they're pretty harmless. So I really enjoyed this and would recommend that as well. And if you've made it this far, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join me for my next video.